Is it okay?
Yeah, it's just loading.
Will I see the participants on the right side?
Yes, you will. So if you go to the group, you'll find that's where you'll find the video playing, right? Okay, hello everybody. Five people have joined us right now, and more will be joining us soon, I'm sure. So, guys, it's very pleased to mention, very pleased to introduce to you Andreas Pistol. And Andreas is going to be telling us about how we can identify and construct our fitness regime. Now, the idea behind doing this session is, of course, that, as when we go about a fitness journey, we can't be just passive receivers of information. We can't just take whatever our trainer or our nutritionist or our fitness coach tells us and just do it, right? We have to apply our mind to it. And Andreas has been applying his mind to fitness, to health, to sports, to athletics for how old are you, Andreas? From probably for throughout your life, right?
I'm 35. I was 35 on last Wednesday.
Oh, happy birthday, belated.
Thank you.
Anyway, so Andreas has been applying his mind to constructing, to figuring out what is it that works on for him on a health and fitness level for 35 years now. He's an amazing athlete. His fitness and lifting performance is amazing. And the reason how I found Andreas was, first, I came across him on Twitter. And on Twitter, I saw a tweet of his that talked about sleep and how to improve the quality of your sleep. I had already identified sleep as one of the major things that really affect your performance and energy and health. And so I was looking for something on how to improve that. And I saw Andreas's tweet. He has a list of advice, various lists of things that can help you sleep better. And when I applied that, everything, like, a lot improved. My performance in my exercise, my energy levels during the day, even my allergies, even my cold cough, everything improved. So that's how I first came across Andreas, and I've been following him for a long time now. He's on Twitter, and he posts a lot of interesting fitness content. Andreas, just give us a short introduction to ourselves, and to everybody on the Facebook group. I just want to tell you that there's a short lag between this conversation happening and what you're seeing on the Facebook group. So about 15 seconds. So whatever you comment, whatever you might say, it will take us about 15 seconds extra for us to see that. So don't worry about that, right? We will see it, just about 15 to 20 seconds extra. Anyways, Andreas, just give us a short introduction about yourself.
Hello, guys. Thank you, Fateh, for this introduction. Yes, I'm Andreas. I'm 35 years old. I've been training almost for 20 years. If you can talk about weightlifting, resistance training. Of course, that I have always been practicing sports. That's important to highlight, right? Because I remember I was 1 year old and my mother put me inside a swimming pool, so I was already swimming, and that's something that you need to take in consideration about myself. As Fateh said, to be fit or to be healthy is not just about hitting the gym or do some push-ups at home and that's it. It's about a lifestyle, and that's, if there's one thing you can keep today, that's exactly that you need to have a healthy lifestyle. It's not just about lifting weights and showing yourself in front of a mirror. No, it's more than that. As Fateh said, one of the main things about getting fit, about being fit, is exactly about sleeping, about resting. And many guys do this completely wrong, because they think that the moment they are sleeping is the moment they are not doing anything. It's exactly the opposite. Our bodies recover when you are sleeping. So if you want your muscle to grow, you need to sleep. That's exactly when your muscle grows. Just for you to understand a little bit the basics of muscle growth, there are two processes happening at the same time, which is muscle, let's say, synthesis and muscle breakdown, right? And don't think that one is happening, the other one is not happening. No, both are happening at the same time. And actually, when you are training, you are actually breaking down your muscle. So on the other hand, when you are sleeping, that's exactly when you are regenerating your muscle, and that's where your muscle is growing. So in the end of the day, the most important is that you have a positive balance, protein balance, this muscle, this protein muscle synthesis, that in the end your muscle will grow. And for that, sleeping is very important. Plus, there's another thing which is very important, and it goes along with training and sleeping, which is diet. I need to put a little bit of background about this. Fateh said that he met me on Twitter, and not just in Twitter, but in many self-help guides and etc. I see many guys going keto, following the ketogenic diet. As you know, it's a high-fat diet. I see many guys doing intermittent fasting. I can tell you that I have never done any of that. And as you can see, perhaps you can see in my pictures as well, I have always been in shape. So there are many things to talk about diet. I'm not going deep about diet here. I just want you to understand that for me, following a traditional diet doesn't mean it's a bad thing, as most people think. Following a high-carb diet is not a bad thing, as most people think. I am a real fan of traditional diet if it goes along with a healthy and active lifestyle. Okay. For instance, I'm not going into ketogenic diets because there are many nuances here. It can work for some people. It's not something I recommend. If it works for you, great. About intermittent fasting, IF, let's call it IF. It can have many advantages. The scientific side of it, there are not so much research, long-term research as people think. Many say that IF reduces inflammation in your body, it activates autophagy, which how your cells regenerate themselves, etc., etc. This sounds very good, but as I want you to understand, there are no magic pills, there are no panaceas here, right? So it all comes down to eating healthy, sleeping, and exercising. Okay. So about diet. I have some customers who I recommend, for instance, intermittent fasting, and we can start here, right, Fateh? We can start a little bit here because this goes along with your training regime.
I think before we get into something specific, why don't you just take us through what are the different regimes you've followed throughout your life, and what have you found that helps practically when you've been doing those things, if you understand my question. So maybe at 20, you were just doing 5 days or 6 days a week. You were doing upper body exercises. 25, you were doing CrossFit. So just tell us a little bit about what you've tried and what is the effect you found. Yeah.
Well, in terms of fitness regimes, I've basically tried everything you can think of. Super serious. I tried training just 3 times per week. I can tell you that, for instance, during my 20s, at an early age, I used to practice martial arts a lot, karate and capoeira. I don't know whether you know capoeira. It's the Brazilian martial arts mixed with some dance.
If you understand my question. So maybe at 20 you... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at the time, for instance, I was training 3 times per week because I didn't have more time. There were other times I just tried to train almost every day. There were other times I trained, for instance, one day I would train chest, so to divide your muscle groups, right? I would train chest and triceps. The other day I would train biceps and chest, etc., etc. And almost 20 years training, I can tell you that for me, there are only 2 effective ways to train, right? And it all depends how many days you train per week. So basically, if you train 2 or 3 times per week, if you train 1 time per week, don't talk to me. That for me, that's nothing. Okay, you have to train at least 2 times per week. At least try it. So 2-3 times per week, you need to train your whole body. That's simple for me. Okay, if you train 4 times per week, 5, it depends, but 4 times per week, you can have 2 trainings, upper body and lower body. It's very simple, right? That you hit at least the same muscle group twice per week. If you train more, 5-6 times, then you can already add some isolate exercises, right? For instance, you can do upper body, like the major exercises like chest, back, shoulders. then you can train your legs. And on the third training, if you train 6 times per week, let's say, your train C will be like tricep, bicep, some.
So individual muscle groups is what you're saying.
Yes, you can do that. You can do that. But please, if you are training a few times per week, like let's say 3, 4, like most people, don't do this. Don't start training just your biceps or triceps or whatever. That doesn't make sense. Especially because people grow and muscle grows when you do heavy exercises, compound exercises, which activate most of your muscles. And as you know, there are the big four in this case. For instance, there are squats, there are bench press, the military press, and the deadlift. Of course, there are some variations, but as long as you train this hard and you hit this hard, you'll be fine with it. Now, on the other hand, you need to be careful because I don't know whom I'm talking to. I don't know if I'm talking to someone who has trained for many years. I don't know. I'm talking to someone who has never trained. So the heavy or the more complex exercise gets, or the more difficult it seems, it probably won't be best for you, right for you, right? Because I'm talking about deadlifts and squats, and perhaps you cannot even go lower without any weight. So that's something. Of course, that's why there are coaches and there are people who have specific advice, because this cannot be followed by everyone. I mean, I'm a big fan of doing squats and deadlifts, but it can be dangerous for you if you don't know how to train. But the bottom line, Fateh, answering your question, is 2 variations. If you train not so many times per week, 2, 3, do whole bodies workouts. If you train 4 to 5, then divide them in upper body and lower body. Okay.
Right. And so if you're training 3 or 4 times a week, you do the compound exercises, the ones you mentioned, the squats, the bench. Can you just list the 4 out again? It's squat, it's bench press, it's deadlift.
Yes, I mean, we also talked about that, Fatih, yesterday, right? So right now there's this thing of the gym being closed. So that changes a little bit. Of course, I'm a guy who has always trained at the gym. I like to lift weights. I find it very, perhaps the most effective way to lift weights. On the other hand, and especially since I'm training more at home now, I found that bodyweight exercises are really good. It stimulates a little bit differently the things. I can just give you another more technical part of muscle growth. So there are 3 things that make muscle grow. It's tension. So muscle damage, and about muscle damage, there's nothing much you can do about because it's a consequence of tension. So muscle damage is basically when you sleep.
Right. And just one thing I wanted to say, we are getting some reports that people are complaining that the quality on the Facebook feed isn't very good. Then you can join. I've shared a link in the comments below, and I'll be sharing it in the description of the video as well. You can just join us on our platform. The quality will be much better there, right? So if your quality on Facebook isn't very good, just join us on our platform. Go ahead. Sorry, Andreas, please go ahead.
Yes. So I was saying that there are 3 ways the muscle grows, like the hypertrophy, right? It's about tension, like applying tension to your muscles, resistance, volume. Then there's muscle damage, and muscle damage is the consequence of tension, and there is metabolic stress. The thing about training at home is that you focus more on the metabolic stress. And what is the metabolic stress? Putting in easier words, it's the burn. When you are, for instance, doing pull-ups or push-ups, right? This like 10th repetition or 20th repetition, you cannot do more. That's the burn. That's how you grow your muscle as well. And I think that guys are now training at home because my advice at the gym, perhaps it doesn't make so much sense. I can talk about that, of course, and hopefully everyone will go back to the gym soon. But training at home, it works more or less the same way, I would say. So if you train 2-3 times per week, you hit your whole body again. So you need to do many things. I don't know the things you have at home. Probably you won't have so many things. If you can find a barbell with some weights, that would be great because you can work a lot of things. If you can't, at least, my opinion, try to have a pull-up bar because for me this is crucial. You know, this one of these bars you put on the door. Like you do it like this, and you can do push-ups. You can work your whole back. You can also work your biceps. So that's very for me it's essential, but it's very useful. If you have a pull-up bar, I don't know how much that would cost for you, but it costs perhaps about $25, $30. That will be very useful. So that is a must-have at home if you are training at home. The other things if you can get a barbell, great. It's more expensive, I would say. The rest of it, I have here just two things which can help you because I also do some. I'm working on myself as well, so I'm trying to do some calisthenics, etc., etc. So if you can have these two things, they cost me €10. It's about $12, $13. So that's good also to work like your push-ups, etc., etc. These can be very useful. And this ab roller is a must as well. Okay, so we are talking about an investment. These three things: pull-up bar, this ab roller, and this push-up. I don't know how you call it. This push-up accessories. They cost me €50. I think that's a good investment if you are training at home and if you're serious about getting in shape. So get this. Okay. So about the exercises. Let's keep it simple.
Can you just tell us what the three ways? Can you just explain again what the different ways the muscle grows is? I think that's a thing that everybody would be very interested in knowing. How does the muscle grow?
How to divide? You mean?
No, you mentioned there are 3-4 ways the muscle grows. One is resistance, one is metabolic stress. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, the first one is tension, is volume, and in order that the muscle grows, you need to progressive overload your muscles, right? So that means, for instance, if you are bench pressing with 10 kilos, the next day you should be bench pressing with 11 kilos or 12 kilos. That also goes with the frequency. For instance, if you are doing 8 repetitions, perhaps the next training you will do 9. So time under tension is also important. So there are many variations here. Understand? There's weight, there's more repetitions, and there's a time under tension. Because I can do bench press like this, or I can go slowly and go up. There are many variations. It's always about progressing. So if you want your muscle to grow, you need to apply this, to have this notion of tension and of volume. That's the best and the most effective way your muscle grows. Okay. The second way is muscle damage. It's how you damage your muscles. Of course, it's a consequence of the first one and also of the third one I'm going to talk about. So that's why, guys, have this in mind. You need to sleep well because that's where your body recovers and where your muscle actually grows. Okay. So when these muscle fibers regenerate themselves. So the third one, it's about metabolic stress, which is this burn effect. When you're feeling this burn on your muscles, like you are pushing up and you cannot do one more, then you do one more, you're really feeling this burn. This is also a way to grow your muscle. Of course, I recommend, as a general rule of thumb, that you focus on tension, always increasing your tension, progressively overloading it, and of course, training at home about this metabolic stress. For instance, if you are doing 5 push-ups, tomorrow or 2 days afterwards, try to do 6, right? And then have this in mind. And for instance, if you are doing a push-up like this, then the next one you'll do a little bit slowly and go like this. Everything is about overloading more and more and more as the time goes by, right? So you need to always. That's why being fit and in shape is not an easy thing because you need to self-motivate, right? It's not something that, of course, if you have a coach, better. But most people don't have a coach, especially when training at home. So you need to have this in mind. You always need to do a little bit more. 1 more per day, 1 second more per day, etc., etc. I think this answers your question, right? Okay, maybe he's gone now. Okay, so but talking about the exercises. I hope.
Yeah.
Fateh, are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
So that answers your question, right?
Yeah, it answers that question. So just take us through some of the exercises you were talking about earlier, ones that we could do at home. And I think we can assume a beginner to medium level for everybody. Now, what are the things we can do at home? To people who are joining us right now, Andreas recommended if you're working out 4 times a week, you work on your upper body on one day and your lower body on the other day, and then you take rest, and then you work, and then you repeat that cycle. And he recommended not to do individual muscle exercises like biceps and triceps, and if you're only working out 4 days a week. And so yeah, tell us how we can work on some of those muscles based on the workout regime you mentioned at home.
Okay, so let's keep it simple for people who are training 2 to 3 times per week, training your whole body. Of course, this can also be applied to people then who train 4 or 5 times per week. Then you just need to separate the exercise. But first, legs, you should probably do 3 exercises. I would say this is a little bit difficult to explain now, but I will do my best. So the first one is about squatting. So as you know, I will try to do this here, but it's a little bit difficult. But okay, squatting, everyone knows squatting, right? So squatting is going down and up again. Just go a little bit straight with your body and go down and sit down and go up. The thing about squatting is that most people do half squats. Don't do this. Don't be afraid of sitting on your ass, let's say. So really go down and sit. If that's too easy for you, grab some backpack, put some books inside, and go down. Right? It goes along with what I told you before, that you always need to be progressing. So if doing squats is too easy for you because it's just your weight, then grab a backpack, put some books inside. If that's too easy for you, grab a backpack, put some rocks inside. If that's too easy for you, grab your girlfriend and put your girlfriend here, whatever. So you just need to be creative and to push yourself harder every training, right? The second one is I would say it's very good for your back as well. It's the hip thrusts. So it's this ones that you see. It's a little bit too hard to clarify it. But it's this one where you put, for instance, there's a sofa there. You see? I think you are seeing, right?
Yeah, we can see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this one where you go. This one people do have usually a barbell here and do like this, you know?
Right.
Okay, this is very good for your ass and also for your lower back.
And we can so in case that is easy, we can also put some weight at the top at our pelvic to make that exercise harder.
Yeah, again, of course, this can be, don't put too much because this can hurt you a little bit here. But of course, again, do it. For instance, I have some books here. You can grab some books. It's a little bit light. They don't do some effect, but whatever you have. You can put some books here, for instance, you know, please, if that helps. Just try to add resistance, okay? Again, as I told you, if you have a barbell, better. If you can put a barbell here, it will be better. The third exercise, it's a variation of it's a Bulgarian squat, and I think this is very effective because you don't need so much weight, especially if you are training at home. So you just put one leg here, for instance, on your couch, you know, and you go down. Okay. Again, you can have something to grab, some books or some, for instance, 2 backpacks here, or even 1 backpack on your back, and you go down. Like you touch slightly with your knee on the floor, not fall, don't fall on the floor. No, control your movement. For most guys, even their body weight, this will be enough because this is challenging. You need balance, you know. So this is a very good exercise. And of course, you'll do it with 2 legs. Okay.
Right.
So like this. Okay.
Right.
So this is about the legs.
Right.
Now, about your chest. There's nothing else much you can do rather than push-ups. But trust me, there are thousands of variations of push-ups. You don't think that push-ups is very boring. No, I can tell you, there are always some things you can improve. If you think a normal push-up is fine, then you can open your arms like this, and you can do push-ups like this, go down. You can close your hands like this and push-ups like this. You can even try with one hand if you are advanced enough. So push-ups are the holy grail of training at home. They will work your triceps and your chest mostly. Okay, so try to do 2 variations of push-ups, for instance. The third one, and that's why I recommend to have a pull-up bar, right? Because if you have a pull-up bar, everything gets easy. So you can, for instance, do the normal pull-up. You are working your back mostly, and if you are doing the chin-ups, for instance, you are working your biceps as well. So you can do these 2 variations. If you don't have a pull-up bar, it will be more difficult. So you can find a table, but it needs to be a strong table where you can grab the table from down. Let's say the table is here. You can grab your table and go up like this. Okay, you're working your back. That can be a little bit dangerous. So watch out. Then don't tell me that I was the responsible for your injury. Watch out that you don't fall on the floor, that the table is too weak. Please, if you are serious about it, find a pull-up bar. I think that's the best option for you. It costs about 20 euros, and it's a very, very good investment.
I think a problem also is a lot of people might not be able to do a full pull-up. So in that case, how do they? And
if they cannot do a full pull-up, you also have a chair at your home, right? Again, guys, watch out, right? So you need to be creative, but you need to be careful. That's this fine balance is difficult to reach sometimes. If you have a chair behind you, you just go on your chair. Let's say the pull-up bar is here. You go up in the chair, and the pull-up bar suddenly is here. Okay, so you can help with your feet on the chair like this. Get used to the movement. Okay, because everyone can have a pull-up if their feet are placed on a chair. That's obvious. Okay, so don't be afraid to do it, but find a stable chair, please. Okay, don't. A shaky chair will be very dangerous. Yes.
There's one question that one of our viewers has asked. What are the other exercises for the hip apart from the squat? Are there any other exercises that we can do for our hips?
Yes, there's a very good one actually. It's a little bit more advanced. I'll try to show you if it works. So this one is very good and it works your lower back as well. So you just go here on the floor, right? I think you are seeing.
We can see, yeah.
And find some have some socks because you need to slide. For instance, and like this, go to the front and go to the back. But keep your hips. Work mostly the hamstring.
I think we lost your audio. I think we lost the audio. Andreas, can you just repeat that?
Are you listening?
Yeah, we can listen now. Yeah, now it's working.
Yeah, because I'm a little bit far from the computer. So you just need to slide, to raise your hips here and to slide it like this. Like to slide. Like this. A second variation is also you raise your hips and then you put one finger like this, one toe like this, your toes on the floor, and the other leg goes up, and then you slide the other one. This is a little bit more advanced, but trust me, this will work your lower back, your abs, and your hamstrings. Okay, so do like this. Always keep your hips up, not like this. This is nothing. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and the last exercise or the last 2 exercises I recommend. So basically, the shoulders. Shoulders, you can. The push-ups are working your shoulders as well. Okay. So, for instance, if you can always do a push-up if you want to work your shoulders. For instance, like this. So instead of doing a normal push-up like this, just stay here, for instance. Stay here. Go a little bit to the front and stay here. Okay? This will work your shoulders as well. For instance, if you are doing a push-up, instead of going normal, go a little bit to the front. Okay? A little bit to the front. And go back. This will work your shoulders in a very effective way.
Right.
Of course, an advanced version, you can do handstands. For instance, there's a door there. I close the door and I can do handstands and stay there or go a little bit down. But I don't recommend to most of the guys.
I think handstand push-ups are very difficult, but I think people can when balancing against the wall, that makes handstands a lot easier if they balance against the wall.
Yes. Even if you can just stay there on the door.
Right.
For instance, yeah. I can show you. Moment. So here, you can just stay here, you know?
Yeah.
Like yeah. You can go a little bit down, but that's more advanced.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, I don't recommend this if you have started with fitness recently, or if you are advanced. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There's a couple of questions, Andreas. One of them is do you think the weight should work against you, or should you create tension on your muscles to move the weight? Which one do you suggest?
What do you mean in this case? So the weight should work against you, or should...
So I think I think he's talking about lifting a weight versus creating tension by maybe pulling a string, maybe pulling a wire or things like that. I think that's what he's referring to. Samir, you can just clarify if I got that wrong, but I think that's what he's referring to. You know how there are tension cables that you can then pull to create stress resistance, and then there are weights that you can lift.
Yeah, guys. In the end, it's all about progressing. It doesn't matter how, right? So you can just have some tension, or you have some bands, some resistance bands. It's a great thing you can buy as well. You can have some bands on your feet, for instance, and do some biceps, or you can grab some books and rocks and do like this. In the end, it all comes down to resistance, right? You need to feel the resistance, and of course, training at home, you need to focus more on repetition, on the burn effect I told you, right? So if you are at the gym, it's easy because you can grab a barbell and lift heavy, and you can do that. But if you are at home, it's difficult to have too much weight, for instance, biceps or chest or whatever. So always focus on the burn effect. So push-ups, for instance, right? So push-ups, you stay there, you go slowly, and you do 1, 2, and then you are already at your 10th or your 15th repetition. You are feeling that you cannot do more. You can do 1 more, and that's it. And you always need to progress. Your muscle will grow as well, of course, effectively. If you really want to build muscle and to be big, let's say, the most effective way is perhaps to hit the gym and to have some weights there available. But if you don't have them, don't get motivated by that, and work on your body weight exercises. As I told you, for instance, about push-ups, they are very important. Push-ups. There are many variations of push-ups. There are many. Of course, this is a webinar of an hour. I cannot tell you all the variations here. This is not a private coaching. I can help you afterwards if you want. We can talk. This is something for the as well. I have my Twitter. You can follow my Twitter. You can write me some questions, personal questions. But more than that, it's difficult to tell you now all the variations. But please have this in mind. As long as you are applying tension, resistance to your muscle, doesn't matter how. Okay? So you can grab your television. You can do a push-up. You can just stay there, like working your shoulders, as I told you, like doing a push-up, staying like this, going a little bit to the front. You can do this. So
there's another variation of the question. So should you do lower reps with a heavy weight, or should you do many reps with a smaller weight? You understand the question?
I understand the question. That also varies depending on the type of training. I mean, if you are training at home, there's no other way you can do heavy weight with lower reps, right? Unless you grab your table or you grab something very heavy, it will be very difficult. So on home, you need to focus on like low weight and many reps. If you are training at home, go heavier. So this has some slight variations, but the most important thing, guys, for building muscle, I am a fan of the idea that you need to lift heavy, right? lower a little bit the reps and go heavier. But if you are taking it at home, probably that won't happen. That will not happen.
But
As
why?
long as
Can you just tell us a little about the theory about why you think it is better to reduce the number of reps but lift a heavier weight rather than vice versa? Can you just like?
Yes, because it activates more your blood, your muscle fibers. That's obvious. Like the muscle grows because you add the number of myofibrils. I don't know the name in English. Yes, myofibrils. So you increase the number of myofibrils, and there are some studies that prove that the heavier you go, I would say between 70 and 90% of your maximum rep. For instance, let's say you can do only one exercise one time, so that's 100%. If you can do it 4, 5, 6 times up to 8, that's 8 times is perhaps 70%, 6 times it's perhaps 80%, 4 times it's about 90%. Okay, so that's because you activate most of your muscle fibers, and they are working with more weight. You are creating more resistance. That's obvious. That's why you see huge guys, they lift so heavy, because lifting heavy will help you perhaps get bigger and stronger, of course, but don't think that lower reps won't be. Of course, they perhaps are not as effective as, but they are still effective. And if you are working at home, you don't have other way right now to train to really go heavy. Okay, wait for the gyms to open. Get fit now at home. Train your push-ups. Train your handstands. Train whatever you have. Use some books, and then when you go to the gym, if you are already slightly in shape, then you can think about going heavy. But it's very important, guys, and especially for the guys. The ladies don't have so much this problem. When you go heavy, you need to know what you are doing. Okay, don't be, because most guys screw it up when they go heavy. They start doing the exercise wrong, and the form is completely screwed. So have this in mind. You can only go heavy progressively. Don't try to impress girls at the gym. Don't try to let your ego overcome. So when you go heavy, you need to know what you are doing. You need to still apply the form and the technique. That's the most important, okay? Because we are talking about lifting heavy weights. So that can have you injured for the future. Now that you are young, you don't think about it. But in the future, if you are lifting heavy with a bad form, you will be screwed. So take this in mind. Go heavy, but go heavy very slowly.
Okay? So one of the viewers are asking a question: how for exercises for slimming down the calf, for the calf muscles?
What? Sorry, I didn't understand the question. The connection is not so good now, Fateh.
They're asking for an exercises to slim down the calf. The calf.
The calf.
Yes.
That's a more tough one. Especially with training at home. One good one I recommend is that you try to balance yourself on your calf, right? Yes. So, for instance, I can already do it on my own, like you do like this. It's a little bit to show you now, but you need to go up and stay there, Stay there for 8-10 seconds, for instance, to keep your balance on your calf. And then you switch your leg. If you need, of course, most guys will probably need a support. So support here, put your hand here, and then do it like this. But get used to then take your hand and then stay like that. Like 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds. Again, it's about this metabolic stress. The longer you can be there, the better. Stay there, like really stretch your leg on the point of your toes and stay there. Okay.
There's another question. There's another exercise where you where you raise yourself from your toes, right? That is commonly done for the calves when you like something like this, where you try and raise yourself up with your toes. Is that also?
That's what I did. That's what I did right now. But I did it just on one leg. You can do it too. With two is easy for me.
Yeah.
For one, you are putting more weight. You are putting your whole weight on your calves. And calves are muscles that require a lot of weight. So do it with one leg. If you need support, put your hand here, Right. But then start removing. Like do it like this. Stay there,
Right. So there's another question. There's another question on. There are two questions on stomach. On one individual, Manish is saying that he's been hitting abs regularly for about 2 to 3 weeks, and he's asking when can he expect some results for definition of the abs. And then there's another. Then Kishore is asking how can we reduce stomach fat. I think those two are related. So if you could just
that's the $1 million question, right? So that's what everyone wants. That's what everyone wants, like to have six packs. But that doesn't work like that. It's not just that you start doing some abs and then you have your abs showing. So I would say that 75% of abs is about the fat you have on the top of your muscle, right? So you need to have this in mind. It goes back to the beginning of the conversation for the ones who are here. It's all about the dieting. So I want to have this straight, we have this clear again. So most of the visual you'll have from your body, it will be from the fat you have or you don't have, right? For instance, if you have 25% body fat, you can lift weights like crazy and hit the gym and be really strong, but then you will look like a power lifter. I don't have anything about power lifters in general. They just have too much muscle and too much fat. You know, for instance, this guy who lifted 500 kilos in the deadlift, the world record, this guy 1 month ago. The guy is huge, but you can see his belly. He has a belly like this, of course, because everything is packed there. Fat, muscle, boom, 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 boom. Everything is about having more and more. If that's your goal, that's fine. Strength. If your goal is more definition and to look nice, then I recommend you. It all goes back to the diet. Okay. So, and if you are overweight, let's say if you have, or not even overweight, but if you have like 25% fat, you are fat percentage in your body, guys, you need to reduce that first. And how do you reduce it? You need to, the calories, the theory of the calories in, calories out, it's real. It's about the first law of thermodynamics. So you need to eat less, you need to burn more than you consume, right? So do this up to a point where you can start seeing your belly. That's the most important, okay? So always keep your protein high, but reduce, for instance, the fat or the carbs. Be a little bit in calorie deficit until you can see your abs, okay? That doesn't mean you can train your abs, because your abs are just a muscle like any else, all right? So you can train your abs. For me, 2 times per week is more than enough. And again, if you can, use this. I have a video. If you check my Twitter, then Fateh can give you the details, and I can give you the details of my Twitter. And then you can follow me on Twitter. We can talk on Twitter. You can ask me some questions. Also about on my blog, I have a link, and I can give you a link where you can download the free book I have about fitness that can help you as well. But if you can, buy one ab roller. This is the best, hands down, the best thing you can have to work your abs. Okay? But again, don't forget, your abs are just, if we are talking about showing your abs, it's just 25% exercise. The other 75% is diet. And if you have some fat on your belly, you need to cut that first. How do you cut the fat? You need to work out, and you need to eat less than you consume less than you burn. Okay?
So I've got a couple of questions, I think, Andreas. Number one is, I remember you posting once that how you did not get abs by doing specific maximum exercises for the abs, that you got your abs by just doing the compound exercises that you do, the deadlift, the weights. So
yes, that's it. I mean, for me, I'm a guy who has also done many things in his life, and my abs are strong. I can feel it when I touch them; they are strong.
Right.
Of course, I work my abs. I would say once per week I do this ab roller. I work them, but that's secondary. As I told you, if you focus on compound exercises, and when you go back to the gym on activating all your muscles, then your abs will work as well. Okay. The second thing is that the more you lift, and perhaps the heavier you lift, the more fat you'll burn when in rest, right? And fat burning is the secret behind showing your abs, right? If you are burning fat, the less fat you have, the more your abs will show. So guys, don't think about abs like an isolated exercise. Think about it as a whole, right? Your whole body is an ab exercise. Your whole diet is an ab exercise. Your sleeping is an ab exercise. I think that answers your question, right?
He's asked that he's using that roller, but it's not reducing as expected. I think we can share. You can just share. You have a link for how to use the roller and a few exercises to do the roller, right? We can just share that link, just so that he can be sure that he's doing it the right way.
Yes, for sure. I can share you the link.
You can do that at the end of the show when we are like at the end, and I'll share it with Mr. Kishore once we are done.
Yes, I can share the link as well in the end. Of course, the link to my book, the link to my Twitter. You can do that. But Kishore, I think Kishore asked the question, right?
Yes.
Again, yes. Just the fact that you are using an app roller, that won't change the whole world, right? So it's just an app roller. It's not a magic spell or a magic pill. So have this in mind, that don't think about the app roller as the way to reduce your apps. Think about your diet, your exercise, and your sleeping as a way to show your apps. Okay.
So is there a specific diet you recommend when you're talking about reducing fat per se, not so much gaining weight, but I think reduce. So why don't you just tell us about the two different diets you might recommend to somebody? Number one, who's trying to lose fat. Number two, who's trying to gain some muscle.
Yes. Well, first, if you want to lose fat, guys, you need to calculate your total daily expenditure. Like I can give you also a link, a good link for you to calculate this. It's based on your age, how much calories you waste per day, etc. And you need to work around this. Of course, I cannot tell you in this webinar what exactly specifically you need to eat. The thing you have to have in mind is that you need to consume less calories than the one you burn, right? So that's how you lose fat. For some guys, I found it useful in this case to do intermittent fasting. For instance, they eat just twice per day, and when you eat with less frequency, of course, you have a tendency to eat less, right? For some other people, intermittent fasting won't work because they always have this tendency to eat. So in the end, the most important, guys, is that you need to control your calories. I cannot do this for you. I cannot tell you, for instance, I know that my total daily expenditure is about 2,750 calories, right? So that means, just for you to understand, if I eat every day this amount of calories, I will keep the same weight. I will be at this maintaining phase, okay? So if I want to gain muscle, then I need to increase a little bit. I need to increase, and then I can go up to 3,000 calories. For instance, I increase to 150. There are some guys who suggest 500, but I think that's too much. You need to go slowly and to see your progress slowly. That's how things work well. That's how things works for me, right? But let's say that I was overweight, about this 2,750. I would need to reduce that daily to 2,500, right? I would need to eat 250 calories less. That's, guys, the most important. It's about calories in, calories out. We can talk about the quality of the calories. That's for another talk, okay? That you shouldn't eat shit, that you should eat whole grains, or if you don't like grains, that you eat a lot of protein, like meat, fish, eggs, etc. That's the thing. But it's all about calories in and calories out. So you need to control that, okay? So intermittent fasting might work for a guy who is trying to lose weight. For a guy who is trying to gain muscle, I don't recommend intermittent fasting. It's very difficult to really gain muscle if you do intermittent fasting for many reasons, especially because it also depends on the weight, on the hours you are fasting, right? Because up to 16 hours probably won't harm you, but more than 16 hours, perhaps your glucose reserves are so low that perhaps your body starts slowly to consume some muscle, so some protein from your muscle tissue, and that's something you don't want. So guys, if you want to lose fat, yes, do intermittent fasting. If you are trying to gain weight, don't do it, okay? The most important thing as well, being in losing fat or in gaining muscle, in gaining weight, because you can always lose fat and gain a little bit muscle, is that to keep your protein high. And that's also the basis of muscle growth, that you always keep your protein high. And I always recommend at least 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for instance, I'm 81 kilo. In my case, that would be 162 grams of protein per day. And you can increase it as well up to 3 grams per kilogram of body weight. That's already at a phase you are really trying to build some more muscle. You don't need so much protein, probably. So keep it at 2 grams, 2.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. Regardless of whether you are losing fat or gaining muscle, keep your protein high, okay? I cannot stress this enough. Most guys screw it as well. They want to lose weight, so they cut everything. No. You can cut carbs, you can cut fat, but don't cut the protein, okay? And use this as I told you. For instance, you have your maintenance level, right, where you don't gain fat or you don't lose it. You are in a maintenance level. If you want to grow muscle, go a little bit up. If you want to reduce to cut fat, go a little bit down. I would suggest 10% of your maintenance level. As I told you, I'm a guy who needs daily perhaps 2,750 to keep my maintenance. So I will usually eat 3,000, but if I wanted to reduce, I would eat 2,500. And that's something you need to do on your own. I cannot control the calories you eat. You can do some research. I can help you further if you want, but that's more like a private thing. I cannot help you here right now about exactly the calories you need, and it depends on you, right? On the person you are, on your weight, on your age, etc.
So there's another question about belly skin, about loose belly skin and loose skin in general. When you lose a lot of weight, so there's a little bit of loose skin hanging, stretch marks and loose skin. Any advice to how to deal with that?
About the skin, you mean?
About loose skin, when you lose a lot of weight very quickly, so there's some loose skin hanging around because you've lost too much weight too quickly, or it's stretch marks.
Guys, yes, exactly. That's a very good question. Guys, don't go extreme. As I told you, don't do more than 10% below of your calories. That's what's happening with most people. So they are overweight, they are 150 kilos, and they say, I want to lose weight. And suddenly they cut everything, they start losing weight like crazy. They will lose weight, right? So, but don't do this. Keep your diet as it is and reduce it slowly, very slowly. For instance, if you eat 5 times per day, perhaps eat 4 times per day, or if you eat 5 potatoes in your meal, then start eating 4 and start eating 3. Cut very slowly, guys, because that happens. But if you do it very steadily and very slowly, that probably won't happen. You need, of course, guys, there are some effects. If you are 160 kilos and then in 1 year you are 80 kilos, that's great. But of course, your skin, the part of your skin will be a little bit looser. That's something your body needs to adapt. But don't do extreme diets, please. Please don't do this. Do it very slowly, very steadily. If you are losing 1 kilo per week, that's great. Don't do more than that. Do it very slowly.
I just want to talk a little bit about sleep as well, because as we started the podcast, the webinar talking about that. So I've personally found that I once tried this. I shut off all white light in my house at about 8 o'clock, and I watched no devices, and I put on candlelight, and I tried for about 2.5 hours to sleep. Finally, I did sleep. When I woke up at 6:30 the next day, my energy levels were at least 30% or 40% higher. So this is something personally that I've experienced, that the quality of your sleep might be one of the most important things that you can do. So what have you found out about sleep, and how do you recommend we can improve the quality of our sleep, Andreas?
Yeah. Well, first of all, guys, it's all about the lifestyle, right? So if you are a person who doesn't exercise and who eats only shit, then your sleep will be terrible. So exercise is proven after research that it will help you sleep better, and you will have a more rested sleep, because sometimes people who don't exercise, they wake up a lot of times at night. So this is the first basis, okay? So always have your diet and your exercise in check. That will help you sleep a whole lot better. Then there are some things you can do. For instance, coffee. I don't recommend. There's a part of me that doesn't recommend coffee at all. I think coffee is a little bit poison, but let's not talk about that now. Stick to 1 coffee per day and drink it in the morning, maximum at the lunchtime, okay? Because coffee has some effects, caffeine, and if you drink it later in the day, it will be more difficult for you to sleep, okay? So there are other things more. So control, for instance, the light and the temperature in your room. If it's too warm, that won't be good for your sleep. If there's too much light, you will wake up naturally. So control this. Find some how do you call it? This lamp. Yeah. It's important to do that. And lastly, and very important, put your phone away. Don't go with your phone to your bed. Leave your phone out of your bedroom and replace it with a nice book. For instance, I found the books to be very, very effective before sleeping. It works for me. I think it works for almost everyone. So try to read something before bed. It will also make you a little bit smarter, perhaps learn some things. And your handy, of course, you can learn things on your handy, but the blue light of your phone and all the lights, it will wake you up. So yes, these are my basic advices, but it goes again to the most important, which is lifestyle. So if
So
you
you also mentioned, I seem to remember you also mentioning staring at a wall, which I think you meant meditation, but that's like staring at a wall is like meditation. So whatever way of
yes,
meditation.
it's some kind of sort of meditation. It's about being mindful and thinking about your day. For instance,
Yeah.
you can just stare at the wall and think how your day was, how you want your day to be, and just be there. It's like it can be a little bit boring for some guys, but this feeling of being there, present, looking at the white wall, can actually put you into sleep natural. Just contrary to if you have the phone in front of you, checking notifications, checking Twitter, getting exciting about answering people. That's the opposite of what you want to do before sleep, right?
Netflix, I think one of the biggest problems is most people watch Netflix or some movies before sleeping, and that has to be the worst thing you can do for your sleep.
Yeah, guys, do that, but do it in a different room. If you want to watch Netflix or any film, do it watching in the living room, and then on your room, there's no Netflix. It's not allowed. Yeah, do it like this.
Okay, so another I really want to talk about coffee, because coffee is something that is we're nearing the end of the session, so I just want to talk about coffee before we end that. So tell us about why you specifically think coffee is bad, and what do you recommend we do about it?
Guys, I have an article about this. I can also share with you this article. I think it will be useful for you. I'm not a dictator against coffee. I really like coffee, and that's one of my problems. But I think it's not so good as you think for in the long term. Coffee affects you more than you think, because contrary to other things like tea or green tea, coffee gives you this energy kick, right? And the moment it gives you this energy kick, it doesn't stay there. It goes down. So it goes a little bit in waves. Contrary to, for instance, if you drink green tea, everyone who drinks green tea knows this. You don't have like a spike of energy suddenly. When you drink green tea, it goes like this and it stays steady. That's how it should be. Perhaps it doesn't go so up as in caffeine, but it stays like this. And that's how energy should be. Because the problem with the spikes of energy is then it goes up and then it goes down. And then you will be relying on this substance, right? You need more and more to go down, to go up and go down. And by doing this, you are also screwing up your adrenal glands, right? Your adrenal glands is where hormones like, for instance, adrenaline and so on are produced. And these are used to these hormones, or these glands should use to produce these hormones naturally. So when you are in a situation of danger, etc., what coffee does is that influences this in a bad way, right? So you start to have, for instance, your reactions get slower. As the more you drink coffee, these reactions get slower and slower. So for me, the most important about drinking coffee is about resting. So resting, sleeping well, it goes back to our previous points, Fateh, is the best coffee you can have. You have a good night's sleep, 7, 8, 9 hours, whatever it's better for you. You don't need coffee at all, okay? If you want to have some, yeah.
Go ahead, please.
If you want to have something, of course, there are people that are at different stages. There are people who drink 3 to 5 coffees per day. I'm not telling you to cut suddenly coffee. It's the same with diet. If you want to lose weight, don't suddenly start cutting 1,000 calories per day. So you need to do it very slowly. My recommendation is, if you drink coffee, you really like coffee, drink 1 per day. If you can, replace it with green tea. And of course, always have the good night of sleep as a standard. That's the most important.
I think one thing I would like to add here is that coffee is a psychoactive drug. It acts on your adenosine and your dopamine receptors, just like nicotine, alcohol, sugar, cocaine, drugs, anything like that. It is well known that it is a psychoactive drug. So I'm saying this while having a cup of coffee right now. So of course, but it is known to be a drug. Number one. I think the other thing also is that it elevates your heart rate. And it elevates it to a few hours. Definitely, you will know that, and that's not really very in the long term.
Instead of having a good balance of energy, you are more anxious and shaky than everything else. And the problem is that it starts losing the effect, and the more it starts losing the effect, you want to increase the doses, and it's a vicious cycle. So I don't recommend that you drink 1 per day. If you can cut it, for instance, you can try experiments. You can try to cut it for 1 week, then the week afterwards drink it 1 per day. Then cut it, for instance, 3 per week. Do it like this, but don't exaggerate on caffeine. Focus on a good night's sleep, and if you want, green tea, because green tea is,
we'll end with the final word of coffee. So somebody has asked whether you recommend having coffee before a workout to increase the performance. Is there anything else we can substitute coffee with that can just give you that little bit of kick to improve that workout? Is there something that what are your thoughts on that?
Guys, that's a very hard question. The problem with the kick before the gym is that you are wanting to base your state on a substance, right? And you are denying or neglecting a little bit what I'm telling you from the start, which is the lifestyle. Trust me, if you start putting working out as a habit, and you have it 3, 4, 5 times per week, if you sleep well, you eat before. If you don't want to eat before a workout, that's up to you. I always eat before a workout, 1 hour before, 1.5 hours before, and I usually drink green tea. And for me it works fine because my mindset is already about training. Don't rely so much on this kick. It's difficult to have a kick. There are perhaps other things, taurine, etc., Coke, like from Coca-Cola, not cola, from Coca-Cola, or this plant you have can work as well. Guarana can work as well, but don't rely so much on substances, guys, because I know it's easy to be really fired up and motivated, but that's short term. That's short thinking you have right there, right? So focus on having a lifestyle, and the moment you are used to hit the gym or to work out at home, you won't need so much that coffee. Trust me.
Yes. Okay. So we have another question on difference between deep and light sleep. Binay says that his fitness tracker shows around 2 to 3 hours of deep sleep. Is that a good range? So I'm not sure, because that's a technical question. I'm not sure whether you've really done research on the different individual aspects. So do you have any comments on that? Binay, we can also have I also plan to get a specific sleep expert. There are a few individuals who are talking.
Guys, that's the thing. I'm not an expert. I base a little bit my experiments on what happens to me and what I've read in my life. I'm not an expert about sleeping at all, about the phases of sleeping. Of course, the deep sleep, you said 2-3 hours. Yes, it's more than enough. And again, it goes back to what I said. So if you have an active lifestyle, if you exercise, if you don't drink so much coffee, if you go to bed without your phone and you focus on sleeping, your sleep will be very good. The time you are in deep sleep, that can also be controlled with a specialist next to you, right? It's difficult to control this. There are some apps to control the time you are on your deep sleep, but they are not so accurate. So don't focus so much on the details about how many hours do I have in deep sleep, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Focus on the lifestyle and focus on what leads to that. Okay, I think that answers the question.
And again, if Binay, I also like to geek out on those little. I differ a little bit from Andreas here, that I like to geek out on these little things about what is it that you sleep on. So we are planning to get a sleep expert who can really take us through the specific cycles on that. So we'll talk about that. Andreas, thank you very much for coming here. It's been over it's slightly over 1 hour, 5 minutes. And so I think now we're going to move on to the next session. But thank you so much for joining.
Guys, it was a pleasure. Do you want me to share the links on Facebook, or where do you want me to share it?
You can just message the links to me, and I will post them on both the Facebook group and here as well. In fact, okay. you could just copy them in the chat here, your links, and I'll also be posting them wherever else we had this, right?
The chat. Okay,
yes.
But if you want, okay, because I need to look for them right now, right? So
right, so you can just message them to me. I'll take care of that, right? Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this session. It has been a pleasure to me to perhaps help you to have some people here that perhaps find my information useful. And always remember, this is not a quick fix. It's never a quick fix. It's about a long-term strategy. If you are looking for quick fixes, don't talk to me. I'm not your guy. I'm a guy who believes in long-term fitness, in long-term health, and don't look for the easy way out. Always, you need to sleep well, you need to exercise, you need to focus on your diet and do this on a regular basis, and don't expect quick results. Very, very slowly. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, and take care, man, and see you soon.